Hello and welcome to learn Laravel PHP framework. We will learn Laravel and at the same time build amazing real-world application. Okay, so we will be doing both things at the same time, and it's going to be awesome experience. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is obviously create a fresh Laravel project, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my terminal window so that I can run some commands to create a new project. Okay, so let me open my terminal. Okay, let me change this to a different color. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so this is, I'm in the root directory. Okay, so if I list my files, you see all these files here. So in the root directory, you might want to create a separate folder where you will be creating many Laravel applications, right? So what I've done already is I already have this folder called L, where I have some Laravel projects already there. Okay, so this is the actual folder. So this is the folder and I have some old projects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new one here. So let me change directory to L. You can create a new folder, you name it whatever you like. And then here what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a command to create a new Laravel project. Okay, so since we have already installed Laravel and I'm on Mac and this is the development environment created using a valid. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Laravel project using Laravel new, and you give it a name whatever you like to call your new project. Okay, so in this case I would like to call it a Larablog. Okay, so Laravel new Larablog. Okay, that is the application name. Hit enter and it will install a fresh copy of Laravel. So it might take a while, so I'll pause the video. Once it is done, I'll come back to you. All right. Okay, so my installation is done and it says application ready, build something amazing. Okay, so that is exactly what we're going to do. So let me list all the files inside L, and as you can see we have, where do we have Larablog? Awesome. So let me get inside cd Larablog. Okay, now let's have a look at this in the directory here. So Larablog, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to Sublime Text Editor. Let me resize it. Okay, so this is our Laravel fresh install of Laravel. Okay, so all these files and folders, which can be intimidating when you're a beginner, but don't worry about all that because we will be going through all these files and folders step by step. Okay, so don't stress. The first thing you want to do is go to your environment file env.env. Okay, here you will see all these environment variables. Okay, so the application name, the database connection, host, port, database name, username, all sorts of things. Okay, so this file will not be committed to GitHub by default. So if you go to git ignore, as you can see all these folders will not be committed when you push your project to GitHub, because this env file will contain all the sensitive information, for example your database credentials, etc. So the first thing you want to do is you might want to change the name of your application and you want to supply the database name, username and password, right? So even before doing all that, why don't we go to the browser and have a look if we have anything there, right? So we already have this application, fresh installation, so Larablog. So what we can do is we can visit in our browser larablog.test. So since I'm using valid, by default this domain gets available to us. So larablog.test. Okay, so it says did you mean to go? Yes. And there we have it, beautiful Laravel landing page. Okay, so by default this is what you get. All right, so you might be wondering how this page is being rendered here, right? So how this has been generated and being served to us. Okay, so that is the first thing you want to know. That is easy to understand and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's go and find out how this page is coming here. So as you know, Laravel, it's an MVC framework, model view controller. So when you want to understand the workflow of Laravel, the first thing you want to know is when you go to the home page, domain name / homepage kind of. So that gets generated here. So you go to routes folder, okay, where all the routes are defined. Now we're going to use the web. We're not going to even touch these ones. These are for API development, okay. So we're going to the web.php inside routes folder. And when you go here, comment here is where you can register web routes for your application. Okay, so let me get rid of this one. So far all we have is one route. We have only one route, and this is how you define route in Laravel. So you use this route model, and then you access this method called get. Okay, so there are a couple of methods like get, post, put, delete, and all that's we're going to cover. Okay, so the most common one is obviously get. So what are we doing here is we are passing two arguments. The first one is the URL to this get method. So in this case we want the home page / right, and the second argument, now this could be a controller. This could be controller, and we could use controller to return which page to return and all that stuff, but this is dead simple. Okay, this is using a closure. Closure is just a function, anonymous function. Okay, so this function, instead of using controller, the function is being used here, and this function is simply what it's doing is returning the view called welcome. So this is how everything works in Laravel. Okay, so if you want to return a view simply means a page, HTML page that you want to serve to your users, right? So in that case, what you do is you use this view method. Okay, you use this method and you pass in the argument. The argument would be inside quotes, and then what you would pass is the name of your view page, the page that contains HTML that you want to show to the user, right? Now what we can do is we can go and find out the view, what it looks like. Okay, so let's go to view, and by default when you use view, by default Laravel will go and start looking in this directory in the resources views. Okay, by default Laravel always go look into this folder. Okay, so in this case welcome is just here inside. Now if it was nested in another folder, for example home, maybe you would have home folder, and inside home folder you would have welcome. In that case, what would be the return is home.welcome. It would be like that. Okay, so now in this case it's just straight there. Okay, so let's go there. Let's go to welcome, and as you can see, it's a simple HTML page. We have styling, we have head section, couple of meta section, we have the title. Okay, so all this inline CSS. That's the reason why you see this beautiful centered text and couple of links. Okay, that's what you see. Okay, so these are the links. Now there's a logic here, so if it is confusing, don't be confused because we haven't covered it yet. Now this is how you write if else statement in Laravel. Okay, slightly different. You use this @ symbol and you use like this. Okay, so if root has login authenticated, show the home page, otherwise show the login and register. Now we haven't even implemented it, so don't worry about this one. Okay, so we will come back to all this and you'll understand each and everything that is going on here. Okay, so for the moment don't stress about that. In fact, why don't we even get rid of all this? Okay, get rid of this because we're going to extend another layout. Okay, and let's say this is awesome. Just simply let's write it. Okay, if you go to the browser and refresh, You see, this is awesome. So far what we have learned is we have learned using root and the view. Simple, right? So this far you understand, and there is so much more to understand, all right? But this is pretty straightforward. Now we could even call it /home, okay? And then in the home page we wanted to return this welcome, okay? So if you refresh, you wouldn't see anything, but if you go to home, you see that being rendered, okay? So that's really beautiful. What I can also do is, let's create another route, get, okay? Now the first argument URL, let's say blog, okay? And then the second argument, let's create a closure, okay? Now we could return another view, because since we don't have a view and we don't want to create another one, just for testing, let's return some text. Return this is blog space, okay? So you can do this as well. Obviously you wouldn't do that. Home, okay? Not home, we have blog now, so let's go to blog. This is blog space, okay? So obviously you wouldn't do this, but just wanted to show you that how simple it is to create a new route and then return a view, okay? Now in the next video we're going to dive a bit deeper, all right? So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.